What's up, everyone? Welcome to the I Got Soul and Soul and Stereo podcast. I think we're on number 27 now or something like that. Kyle's not here this time around, so this is Tom hosting. With me, I've got one guy who loves Keith Sweat. What's up, Ed?
Yeah. What's good, people?
And I've also got one guy who performs in New York City subways and is a diehard Eric Bellinger fan. Returning as a guest, Gaetano.
Hey.
What's up, man?
What's going on, fellas? How you doing?
We're good, player. We're good.
Thanks for joining us again, Gaetano. I know you were anxious to get back on here. We had a good podcast with you the last time around. Ed wasn't able to make that one, but we appreciate you joining us.
Yeah. It's always good to get on with you guys. It's been good. It's been a good relationship, and I'll keep it going for sure.
So before we start talking music, I mentioned you perform in New York City subways, and we've got people listening in to this podcast from all over the United States, even overseas. What is that experience like for those who don't know, have never seen that experience that?
So, for people who have never been to the New York City subway, I will tell you that be ready to smell things you've never smelled before. Besides that, there's a lot of great talent that likes to practice their art in the subway, and it's a cool environment because you never know who's going to pass by, give you a listen, and it's a really good way to get people to listen to you without the usual online stuff. Hey, check me out. All the various spam methods that upcoming artists are using these days to get people to notice them and give them attention. Well, what about the subway? It's a platform. People are waiting. They got nothing better to do. So they basically have two choices. Mindlessly scroll their Facebook feeds, which probably don't even work because they're in the subway tunnel, or listen to you perform. So it's a good way to get some exposure at very low effort and high reward.
You can make some money too, right?
Oh, sure. I mean, in 1 hour, one time, I think I cleared over $125 or something like that. So,
wow.
I only do it when I'm bored. Honestly, I don't do it. I don't do it for a means of making a living. I do it when I feel like practicing somewhere other than my living room, and I want people to hear me as I practice. So that's the way I kind of approach it.
Just make sure you mark it on your tax return.
Yeah, that's going to be reported
kidding.
as a 1099 miscellaneous.
Ed, did you?
Oh, yeah, I'm not kidding. I'm. If that's the case, if y'all are making bank like that, let me hit these corners and start dropping some rhymes, because I did not know that you could make that much from that. That's not bad.
Yeah, you definitely can, man. If you get the right location, the right time, people are feeling generous, you can definitely do some damage.
You got skills, Ed? Who do you compare yourself to? What rapper?
Oh, I mean, if I'm going to put them up there, I've got to be with my VA brethren, No Malice, Pusha T, cut from that same cloth.
Wow. Impressive.
I'm hearing a little bit of cynicism in my boy's voice. I'm just
moving on. This is an R&B podcast. Let's keep it moving now.
We'll keep it moving.
Hey Ed, I was a big fan of your article, the 10 absolute worst rappers of all time.
Player, it's so funny that you mentioned that. I was looking at my analytics earlier today, and that has become the biggest article in Soul and Stereo history. I don't know why people gravitate toward it. So I guess because people are debating, and that's the beauty of lists, and people are debating the artists on it, but that thing has been gone everywhere. So thanks for the props on that. If anyone else wants to go check it out, just hit up the site, soulandstereo.com, and if you look at the most read posts, it's like number 1. Y'all love to hear your boy fuss about bad rappers. That is for sure.
So your most successful article is you hating on people's talents?
Well, you know my specialty players. You know why I'm here.
I know. I'm just messing with you. To me, hip-hop died about 15, 16 years ago, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
Look now, G. I'm going to have to explain it to you since you're a newbie on the podcast. We have gone through this debate a million times here. I don't know why, in Tom's eyes, hip-hop died in 2000. It's been... I mean, the life support did come up about 2000. When did T-Pain have y'all ringtone rapping? About 2006? That's when we got the little defibrillator thing going. But we're doing better. We're doing slightly.
You just made me realize that T-Pain contributed to the downfall of both R&B and hip-hop. That's amazing.
Now we agree. He killed both.
That's
He's
impressive.
a serial music killer.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
He has slaughtered them all.
He was rapper turned singer, but he should have just been rapper turned murderer. Cause
hey, take it easy now.
But you know what though? T-Pain is actually a lot more talented than he gets credit for. Now,
I totally agree, and that's why I've been mad at him all these years. That's where my anger comes from, because he can sing, and I knew this way before he was singing the national anthem on Instagram or whatever people hyped about. But dude can sing, but what he did is he relied on a gimmick, which is okay if you want to do it per song, but he rested on that, and then he got every dude on the corner thinking they could sing, and we got an oversaturation of suckitude, and that's what happened.
Well said.
Yeah, but you're missing the point, though. Had he gone with the real singing angle from the beginning, he would have never been anybody because no one would have cared. It wouldn't have been catchy. How many real singers we have out there that are talented that don't make any noise? He had to have that gimmick.
I understand you having that gimmick to get attention, but you don't rest on the gimmick. So you do something gimmicky. It's like an artist that puts out a upbeat single for radio just to get your attention. But when you go to the album, you have the actual meat and the content and the wonderful vocals and performances. But if all you do is rest on lowest common denominator music, and that's what you put out, and you know you can do better than this, come on now. No love from the kid.
All right, fair enough.
I agree.
So let's talk about some of the new R&B that's out. Jaheim just released his latest album, Struggle Love, and Ed, I know you reviewed it, and so did we for You Know I Got Soul. So tell us about how you rated the album.
I gave it the 3.5 of Doom, as it's affectionately known in the You Know I Got Soul and Stereo realm. That's an inside joke. But I thought the album was pretty solid. But Jaheim, nobody will ever discount his vocals. He's a fantastic singer. And he paired them with that instrumentation. I am a sucker. If you want a good review from your boy, throw your vocals on some live horns, throw a sax up in there, and it's like the stars will rain from the sky. I will hook you up. But along with that the album just wasn't structured as well as I would like. It started out okay, then he had some great material in the middle, and then the second half, everything was just all right. And again, it was not too much that I outright disliked. There were a couple songs that were suspect, but if with some better structure, a little bit better editing, I think he would have really had a winner. But Jaheim fans will love it. I think his core fan base will really, really appreciate this. But pretty decent effort.
Gaetano, I don't know if you had a chance to hear it yet, but are you a fan of Jaheim?
Yeah, I actually did take a listen to the album, and I think I would pretty much agree with everything Ed just said. Jaheim is a incredible vocalist. His tone is one of those signature tones. You hear him and you're like, all right, that's Jaheim.
Exactly.
Right.
I grew up on the hits that RL penned for him and stuff. When I was growing up, and I'm trying not to make you guys feel too old, but the Anything and all those joints. I think in my freshman year of high school when that came out, and that was the kind of music that stuck to me. That was one of those records that influenced my sound. And with his latest project, I thought he kind of went back to a lot of those reminiscent vibes from his earlier times. I think it's exactly what you would expect from a Jaheim album. I think I would agree that it wasn't anything too spectacular, but it was exactly what you would expect. So I think Ed is right on.
When we interviewed him, he had mentioned he was hoping to go back to the vibe he had from his debut, Ghetto Love, and I was a little disappointed he didn't reach back to producer KG, who originally signed him, and also RL, and maybe had them work some songs. But overall, I had no complaints really about the album. And like Ed said, I think his fan base is going to love it. So another solid project from Jaheim. And then also this past Friday, Silk came out with their new album. It's been 10 years since their last one. Have you guys had a chance to check that one out?
I have not had a chance to check out Silk yet. For some reason, I was thinking it was dropping this Friday, so it kind of was off my radar. And I know it dropped. Some of our listeners have already heard it, and I've heard a lot of good feedback from it. I was really feeling the singles, and I'm a pretty big Silk maniac myself, so I love their old stuff. Plus, the Keith Sweat connection, so, no surprise there. But I'm hopefully will check that out sometime early next week. But I'm expecting good things.
Well, I haven't checked it out either. I'm hoping to check it out later tonight or tomorrow. I know our boy DJ Soulchild was raving about it on Facebook. So
shout out to your boy Soulchild. He was hyped like it was Thriller Part 2.
Speaking of Soulchild, we got to get him as a guest one of these times. He's a huge R&B fan, huge ambassador out of Switzerland for R&B.
He is.
So good people. And then then we just got this coming Friday. We got Anthony Hamilton coming out. That should be another good album. And then K. Michelle. So R&B, and then Gaetano. I know you wanted to talk about Musiq Soulchild because his album's coming out next month. What are you anticipating there?
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I'm really looking forward to this one. I think this could be one of the great R&B albums of this year. I'm hoping that it will be. Based on what I heard from the single, a nice hip-hop vibe. It sounds like he's going back to vintage music, but he's kind of throwing in a little bit of a modern flow to his sound. I don't know if you guys picked up on that in the single, but I could hear, I'm not going to say trap. Let's not even say that disgusting word when it comes to Musiq Soulchild. But he's definitely throwing in more of a hip-hoppy type of feel. And I think that this album is going to kind of be one of those standout R&B albums for 2016. I'm going to call it right now. It's going to be one of the hot ones for this year. I could definitely see it.
You're talking about the new single, right? Hard Away?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, exactly. Yeah. So, okay. Well, I Do, which was the lead single, it kind of took me back to his original sound, so I get where you're coming from. And the new one, like you said, kind of like the hip-hop sample. That's all Warren Campbell right there, who's kind of leading this project. He's releasing this project on his My Block label. Grammy-winning producer. Love his work. What do you think, Ed?
I agree a lot with what G said about the single. I wouldn't go so far to call it trap, but it did remind me of B-U-D-D-Y. It had that really strong hip-hop vibe, but lots of soul in it, too. So I thought it was well done. So I'm looking forward to the album, too. I know the anticipation is so high for this one, so, the stakes have been raised. So hopefully music can deliver. But I think with the two singles we've heard, I think he's got some bangers in the closet. We'll see.
One thing you can't discount is the fact that he's indie now, just like Jaheim, who just put out his first independent album. This is Musiq's first independent album. They both were on Atlantic. So that gives him a lot more freedom. And I know he's not always been happy with what labels have asked him to do in the past. Even though we as fans have enjoyed the music, he hasn't been happy. And that's kind of why he went into the hustle and Purple Wonderlove personas, and now he's back with music. But I'm expecting with the creative freedom, he'll be able to deliver the project he's happy with, and so far, I have to say the results have been pretty good. So,
yeah, I agree. I think this is really sounding like the album that he wanted to do and that fans wanted to hear, and not, whatever labels want him to push out the door, featuring Fetty Wap or whatever they want him to do. So, this I think this will be one to watch.
I'm just imagining now that would, if he had stayed with Atlantic, we would have had the first music single featuring Fetty Wap.
I guarantee
it would have happened.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Crazy.
Can you imagine those two trading vocals all over your radio?
That would be a disaster.
Man, so I want to talk about, we didn't get a chance to hear Gaetano's take on Tank's album. This has been a hot topic on every podcast because some people love it. Some people are like, what is he doing with the latest album, Sex, Love, and Pain 2? Last podcast, we had Mike Hamilton from Atlantic. He kind of broke down, Tank's direction and everything. So, Gaetano, I know you're a huge Tank fan. So how did you like the album?
Yes, I am definitely a notorious Tank fan, to the dismay of some, to the pleasure of many others.
Oh my God. Wow.
But, what I will say about the album is that it's not what we expected. That's for sure. He named it Sex, Love, and Pain 2, and it wasn't really anything like the first Sex, Love, and Pain. The first Sex, Love, and Pain was so groundbreaking. It was crazy because that project appealed to the singers of the world that really wanted to study great singing, but it also appealed to the music fans because it had a message in the heartbreak of the song. He was going through a lot of pain during that time in his life, and he unleashed that through his pen. This project, on the other hand, didn't really appeal as much to the singers, which I get. He kind of made this album more for the fans. But what I was surprised at was who he kind of targeted with his songs and the style of the songs. He clearly went the more trap route. He was clearly trying to appeal to a younger audience with a younger type of sound. He had some questionable features on there that, personally I was disappointed to see. I wasn't really looking forward to seeing Tank featuring Rich Homie Quan, let's be honest. But, with that said, he's doing what he's got to do to maintain relevancy. I can't be mad at it. He's a veteran in the game, written countless hits for, top selling artists, himself included, and overall, I would say that there were certain songs on the album that I really loved. Like, I love the Sean Stockman feature. I wish there was more of that, because that song, to me, was like a standout song. Everything else, I would just say was, maybe average, above average, but very solid quality album overall, and, I think Tank's doing what he's got to do to maintain his relevancy.
So, another project that's going to be coming out in the next couple of months is Slim of 112's second solo album, and it's got me thinking, guys, do we need another 112 album? Because they've been touring, they've been hinting about working on stuff again, but each solo member is doing their own project. I mean, would you guys like to hear another 112 album? It's been over 10 years.
Let me just be totally frank, as your boy always is, and Tom and I, we've discussed this many times. I think the first three 112 projects are fantastic, all three. But the later group work has been hit or miss. And I know that now that they're touring, they've got the groove back, they're kind of getting back on the same page. This is probably the best time for them to do this. So I wouldn't be opposed to a project, but honestly, I'm not expecting anything to match the greatness of those first three albums because, they were just such an incredible hot streak that I don't know if they can replicate that. So I don't want fans to be like, oh, this isn't as good as Room 112. But yeah, it ain't 1998 either. So, you're going to have to deal with that. So I would like to hear it, but just to be honest, I don't know if it will be able to match the high expectations that people would have.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much and we agree on everything, man. It's crazy. But
see, keep this man on the podcast. He agrees.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
I just have to agree with this because it's so true. I mean, I'll give you an example of a group that tried making a comeback and just kind of flopped. But look at Jodeci, man. Like, they tried to come back with that album, and I wasn't really feeling it, to be honest with you. And if 112 tried to come back with an album, I'm going to be worried about, are they going to do some trap shit? Like, like, how could they compare it to the greatness of the work that they did in the past? I mean, I'm a real big fan of Deron. He's like a friend of mine, you know what I mean? And I love the solo stuff he's doing. He's taking it, you know, he's showing off his talents. He's not afraid to really sing. He's playing keys, like he's doing the shit he wants to do. If they were to do a project together, I would want to see a lot more of that, and hopefully not, you know, kind of going with what the labels. Well, they'd probably be indie. I don't even know if they'd get on a label or not, but I wouldn't want them. I wouldn't want to see them doing things that they shouldn't be doing just to get traction.
And we've had this discussion going back to the Jodeci album. We've had this discussion before on the podcast, and I have gone on record to say that I thought the album was okay. Like, I don't think it was as terrible as a lot of fans thought, a lot of diehard fans thought, because I think they were expecting Jodeci to sound like 1996. But, you know, there's a reason why they aren't showing new episodes of Martin and Bill Clinton is in the office. It's not 1996. So, you know, they're going to sound like 2016. And I think a lot of people kind of lost that because music can be so timeless. We'll throw on a CD and they're going to sound like they sounded 20 years ago because that is how music works. And I think that a lot of times hearing the new sound in a different direction may throw off hardcore fans. Right. So in this case, I do think that if we do get a new 112 album, it ain't going to sound like old 112. But as long as they don't stray too far from their sound, like you're saying, to your point, I don't want to hear no trap. I don't want to hear this whack alternative R&B stuff where dudes are emoting by just whining over a beat and mumbling. That is not showing emotion. That is mumbling. Speak up so I can hear you when I write my reviews. So, like, that's the stuff we don't want them to do. We want them to continue to build on their legacy and you know, try new stuff and diversify, but don't sell out. So what I would want from a new album is a new branch of their sound. I want to give them a chance to do something different. I don't want repeats of old stuff, but I also don't want 30-year-old dudes acting like they're 18 either. So there you go.
Hold on a minute. First of all, Jodeci, I mean, no offense, we love Jodeci, but anyone who was expecting greatness, only one person left in the group can sing. All of them have been in legal trouble. Two of them are kind of whacked out. I mean, one of them won't even fly. They don't even promote their own stuff. So Timbaland didn't even give them any production that sounded like Timbaland, what we expected. So anyone who was expecting more than than what was given, I think shouldn't be surprised. Like, and I love Jodeci, and I thought their album was solid, but like I wasn't expecting, legends to come back with legendary music. I just thought it was going to be a project they were able to put together based on what they have left. And we've seen what they have left.
I totally agree. But there were so many people who expected the show, the after party. That's what they wanted, and it was not going to happen because they are not the same artists that they were then. And that's just human nature. That's just father time. That's just how it is.
Father time. You can't beat Father Time. He wins every time.
Every time he will put a hurting on them vocals player we have heard.
Except for Charlie Wilson.
Yes, I don't know what kind of vampire blood he's got, but that just sounds like 1966 every time I hear him. And that is not a diss. That is the ultimate compliment.
Jeez. But getting back to 112, though, I think if they came back and did an album... Hello?
Hello?
Yeah. Oh, I thought we were losing that dial-up internet down there in Alabama is killer.
Well, let me tell you something about this dial-up here. Y'all just go back into your subways with G's smelling like Lord knows what. I was down there this summer trying to get on Facebook on my phone, and G's right, you ain't getting no kind of social media.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, proceed, my friend.
You really need to be checking those Instagram mentions at all times, even when traveling.
Hey, Tom.
Big pimping out here, baby.
Actually, Tom and Ed, I'm very, very curious to hear your thoughts on this. Ed, you've already kind of given some foreshadowing on your thoughts. But what's going on with this trap soul thing? Now, I was listening to Power 105. The other day. Now, I study mainstream radio just to see what's trending, what's going on. You know, what kind of stuff people are being force fed to listen to. And yeah, no.
It's like when my mom used to. It's like when my mom used to make this bad meatloaf for dinner, and I had no choice but to eat it.
Yes, my mom used to make. My mom made that too. And had that little red ketchup stuff on top. Oh, wow. Yes.
It's like, Mom, meatloaf again. Damn it.
Yes, and she would be like, "You like it? It's good." No, I don't.
Jeez.
Go ahead. Jeez.
Yeah. So I'm listening to Power 105. And here's what I'm hearing in a row. I hear Bryson Tiller, Tory Lanez, Drake, Tory Lanez again, Jeremiah, back to Bryson Tiller, and then it was Chris Brown. What is wrong with this picture? You guys tell me.
What do you mean? This is evolution of music, man. I have no problem with it. No, I'm being dead serious. Listen, imagine people who are like 60 right now thinking, but New Jack Swing came out. What is this? Another New Jack Swing song is coming out? What is this? I want more Luther Vandross.
Yes, and I will say, because I'm the old head of the group, and I will say this because I lived it. When New Jack, that might have been a little too early, but I know for sure when Jodeci and Mary J dropped, when hip-hop started to infest R&B a little bit more, and when rappers were more frequent on their songs, yes, R&B fans were like, this ain't R&B, this is hip-hop. Why are they singing over these rap beats? Why are these rappers all over the song? That is true, and that is part of the evolution of music. However, I will talk about this trap soul stuff because I have no problem with alternative R&B. I have no problem with the genre itself, and I have no problem with younger artists moving toward that sound. But if you do that, you still have to have the fundamentals of R&B in it. You can't just take a rap beat, slow it down like some chopped and screwed stuff from like Houston, and then not even sing or emote on it, but just mumble the same word over and over and over again, and then do some little fake rap it in. That is not R&B. I'm sorry. Like, you have to have some sort of the fundamentals in your music, and I'm not saying all artists, but some of them brothers you just named a little minute ago do that all the time, and then we kind of disguise it as R&B. That ain't R&B. That is very lazy R&B. Actually, it's like lazy rap. It's not even really lazy R&B. So no, I will not co-sign that. But it is unfair to say, why doesn't R&B sound like it sounded in 1999? Because it's not going to. Like, let those brothers eat and prosper and try something new. But you got to put some effort into it, or I'm gonna go off.
Well said.
I didn't mean to shut you down, Gaetano, but I'm just like, I just run into all these cranky music fans who make similar points to you, and I'm not saying you're cranky, but people just are unwilling to understand that music evolves, and just like their parents who probably hate the music they like, you know.
Yeah. Well, I know. I think I get the evolution of music. I don't think that was the question that I really had. I guess I should have phrased it better. But really, the question is trap soul here for a while? Is it here to stay, or is it going to be out the door soon?
Listen, player. Trap soul is the ringtone rap version of R&B. I have already said that because I don't see. It seems like there are times where the music climate shifts, and you can tell it. When Jodeci and Mary J and those dudes came out, the tone shifted, and you could tell. When Timbaland started like putting beats on top of beats on top of beats to create these crazy soundscapes, the tone shifted. When Neo Soul got big, Soulquarians and them came out, Music and them came out. Speaking of him, the tone shifted, and you could tell. But then there were also times where there was just like a little blip on the radar where people were just doing something because that was what was hot in the streets. like autotune, and it only lasted like a couple years. And that's what this feels like to me. It doesn't feel like a shift in the tone. It feels like what's hot for the moment.
Wow.
Well, do you guys put like what they call dark and moody R&B in that same category?
So what is dark and moody R&B?
It's like vibey, like when Tinashe first came out, not her newer stuff, like Jhené Aiko, basically,
right.
when the Weeknd when he first came out, not the new Weeknd, that's pop, but like it's like very mood driven. The production's kind of like dark. I don't know, like Jhené Aiko, is she gonna evolve? Like I feel like she was in that space. I want to see where she's gonna go to. Can she create a movement in R&B?
I think she could. I think she influenced it, and again that's the difference, because I think she was on the, and I'm not saying she invented this, because not at all, but she was one of the ones at the forefront of that more moody atmospheric music. And again, that's cool. I actually like that as as something different from the norm. But if you can capitalize on it and move it forward by taking those elements, adding a little bit here and a little bit here and a little bit here, because look at like neo soul. Neo soul is kind of, if you think of stereotypical neo soul, you think of like somebody in a head wrap strumming on a guitar. But we all know that neo soul is, there are different elements to that. There's upbeat neo soul. There's the more moody ballads, and they're different levels, and that's how you create a genre. And that's what it seemed like they were doing with atmospheric, but then it didn't work, because all of a sudden everybody started doing this trap soul stuff. And to me, like I said, that was a fad, because it's not, there's no substance behind it. So it could evolve into something, but at this rate, I don't know. It seems like it's going to be something that's going to fade out. But I have no problem with the atmospheric songs. None.
I agree.
Trap soul I don't like.
You know who I'm disappointed in that could have had a bigger impact in R&B, although I wouldn't even really consider him fully R&B, is Miguel. I mean, he's a star. Ooh. And I really thought with it, and we've talked about this before, but his last album I thought was going to take him and allow him to move R&B in his, because he's a true entertainer, he's a musician, a writer, but it just came up short this time for whatever reason. How do you guys look at him?
And we've talked about this before. I actually was a fan of the album. Like, I know a lot of people were disappointed. My wife didn't like it, for example. But, like, I like that he took that sound and tried to do something different by infusing a lot of rock elements in it. So that way it was something relatively unique, and it came off. I just don't think that it was greeted with the enthusiasm that he thought. But I give him props for trying, and I enjoy the album. It just, I think it wound up being a little bit too niche, more niche than he expected. So again, I give anybody props that's trying, and not. I'd rather you try something different than fall in line and just copy everybody else.
I would have to agree with Ed on that one as well.
Wow.
I know.
Ed Jr.
I don't know what it is, man. Me and Ed, we just kind of think the same when it comes to music stuff. But Miguel, he went very, very niche. And I think he was catering to the fans that have supported him all along, that are his true diehard target audience fans. And he did it. He didn't do anything that was going to kind of ride the new wave of the trends. He didn't do any of that trap soul stuff, which was kind of refreshing to see. But to Tom's point, though, he could have had a bigger impact by, doing some sort of marketing movement. Like, I felt like the marketing for that project was really bad. Like, I didn't hear about it until it came out. So
that's true. That is true.
It came out of nowhere. I was like, oh shit, Miguel's dropping an album. Like, there was no real.
And I'm like on everything, and I was like, oh, Miguel's dropping this week. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Well, can I just throw another disappointment out there? This is airing of grievances here. Neo.
Oh boy.
Whoa, take it easy. Let's just listen to what Ed has to say, and then we'll just put you down for the same opinion.
Ouch.
Ouch. Don't hate on the man for being correct, Tom. Please leave him alone.
Anyway, his last album, Nonfiction, which came out about a year ago. It's crazy that he made such good R&B music, and no R&B fans even really cared. It had like no impact in like mainstream adult R&B. And that's just so disappointing to me. So I know he's a celebrity and a pop star and is in tune with the hip-hop music now, but I don't know. Guys, do you feel like he has any influence left in R&B?
I think that with Neo, unfortunately, because he had gone the pop route for so long and kind of disappointed his fan base so much that by the time he came back around to R&B, which he tried to do with this album, and Tom, you liked this album a little bit more than I did. I thought it was okay, but I remember you really liking it. I think that it kind of threw fans off, and they were kind of like, oh, he doesn't speak to me anymore, so I'm not going to deal with it. And he actually had stuff for his old fans, but they just missed it. So, again, it was a decent piece of work, but unfortunately he went that other route, and he left those fans, and they might be gone for good. They might just be like, Neo's doing his pop thing, I'm done. And also, it didn't help that one of the singles were the kind of upbeat pop things that he was known for. So he just kind of stepped away from his crowd, and unfortunately, I thought they would come back, but they kind of didn't.
It's like he buried some jams on there. Like, he had some great R&B songs that were just buried.
He did.
On there. And probably no one knew about it.
Yeah, Tom, I know you were a big fan of the Neo nonfiction album from last year, and I'll be honest with you guys, I thought this was Neo's best album ever.
Wow. What?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Someone boot this guy.
Now we disagree.
I'll be honest though. I'm not talking about best album ever in terms of sales and outreach to fans, because it didn't perform that well commercially. But from the one thing that's different about me from you two guys is that I'm a die-hard musician, and I understand complexity and he took risks on this album for once. Like, he did things vocally and musically that he never had done before. And from that standpoint, it was kind of like, wow, Neo's actually, he's actually got some soul. Like, he's doing some things that you would never expect Neo to do. And he has some really, really great songs on this album. So he kind of combined great songwriting with great vocal arrangements. And I could tell he wrote a project for himself. This project that he just came out with was largely a reflection of things he was going through. I could tell he didn't really care about, if it's going to pop or not. He had to release a project for himself, and I respect him for that.
Thank you, Gaetano, for joining us. This will be your final appearance on the podcast.
Wait, can we just talk about Eric Bellinger?
Hold on. We got to wrap it up in a little bit. The last topic I want to talk about, we haven't talked about this guy in probably a few weeks. Ed, you know who I'm talking about? He was a mainstay. He was a mainstay on every podcast for like the first 15 weeks.
Huh. Would it be your
Usher.
boy Tyrese?
Usher.
Oh, yes, Usher, yes. We were overdoing it with the Usher a little bit, so we had to step away.
Well,
so,
is he dropping an album this year or not? What is an album coming out? Like, where does he go from here? I'm trying to figure it out.
Look, player, to me, Usher's album has gone into the realm of the Detox and Foxy Brown Broken Silence Part 2 and the Jay Electronica album. Like, if we see that, that's the day that the pigs will fly down from the heavens and deliver it on our doorsteps. So I don't know if we'll ever see it. I mean, Usher's doing his thing. As we were discussing the other day, he had that BET Honors performance, and his Confessions album shot up the charts just from that one performance. So people still want to hear from Usher, but I don't know what the hold up on the album is. I don't know if that's a good or a bad sign.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Do you consider Usher now a legacy artist? Like, is he just going to live off the name that he made for himself with his previous work and then maybe just slip an album in here or there? Or does he have more left to offer in terms of, can he still be an influencer? What do you guys think about it?
Great question. Ed, I'll let you take a stab at it first, man, because my gut is telling me that he's just going to go the legacy route, where he's just going to chip in an album here and there and not really influence the sound anymore. If anything, he's going to maybe put his stamp on whatever the current wave is, not going as far as saying that he'll do a trap soul piece or whatever, but I think he's going to go more the legacy route where he just kind of hangs back chips in an album here and there, but I don't think he's going to be, I don't think he's going to be a main influencer in the sound of trending new music and such.
I kind of got to agree there. I think we'll see him on some singles like the Chris Brown song a couple of years ago, and he'll always sell okay. He has name value. But I don't know who will ever see him drop an album out of the blue and it sells 10 million again. And maybe and he has the talent to do it, but as we've seen with the past few singles that he's released in the past year or two, like maybe one or two have been okay, but nothing has really caught fire. I think he's just on that legacy swing, and that's okay. You've already proven yourself as one of the biggest R&B artists of our generation, so you have nothing else to prove. It's not like he had a bad career.
So the last artist I want to touch on, and this is part of my airing of grievances topic as well, is Maxwell. I was just, reading his Twitter and Instagram, and this guy dropped so many hints at albums and singles, and it just annoyed the crap out of me. Man, just come out with it. Just put the single out. Like, I don't know about you guys,
but
why
y'all keep. It's
all
like,
this
look, I love. And that's part of a lot of that is part of his persona, but I don't know why everyone, it's the same thing with, who's the other guy? Frank Ocean's just as bad. Like, he'll sneeze on Twitter and everybody's like, he's got a new album dropping called I Chew. It's gonna be so hot. And I'm like, just let him breathe, because he is just kind of stoking the flames to keep his name out there. We'll see that album when we see it, but don't get your hopes up. And I'm sure with Maxwell, the album will be great if we ever see it. But
But Ed, he's teasing release dates. He's teasing single titles. It's all teasing.
I've seen it.
Either
all teasing.
Don't say anything, or just let us know. That's my opinion.
I am not arguing that, because but my thing is, I don't know why we continue to fall for it, because every time he does something, people are retweeting and tagging me in tweets, or, get your review ready. I'm like, get my review ready. This dude is not dropping anything. So when it comes, but don't fall for the hype. It's like we keep falling for it every single time. We know he cries wolf. Just let him cry.
What do you think, G?
Well, I don't even want to talk about any of those artists, because I feel like they're just, like you guys said, teasing us with all this stuff. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on an artist who we definitely haven't talked about in a while. And I haven't heard any news from him or what he's doing. And I was wondering if you guys have heard anything. And I'm just going to say right now, before I mention who it is, that this guy is one of my all-time favorite R&B artists. He's consistently released quality music time over time. And
I'm scared.
No, you're going to be like, wow, I haven't heard this guy in a minute. Now, I don't know what he's up to. I haven't even, heard anything. You guys are on the scene. You guys are on top of the latest news and stuff. But Mario, what's going on with him? Have you heard anything? Where's he been?
Yeah. he
was the Kyle from in Hawaii. Did he tell you to send that? Because he meant that as his boy right there. Kyle got questions propped up.
Somewhere Kyle is going nuts right now celebrating that you brought this up. Well, I do know the answer. He got dropped from RCA last year, and then he was working on an album, which he put for full, complete stream on his website. You could listen to the whole thing, actually, but he hasn't released it. So it was a weird situation, actually. He's like, stream my album, and then the album never came out. But you can actually listen to it still. So if you go to his website, you can hear it. But he's independent now, so he's in the quote unquote struggle like a lot of the other R&B artists are in now, trying to get his name out there. And I'm not sure it's what's the next news, but
so knowing what you know about Mario right now, and Ed, this could be for you too. What do you guys think would be the next logical move for him to kind of rebound his career? What could he do to make a hard comeback and be like, oh, shit, Mario's back? Like, what would he have to do? What's the next step for him?
Well, Kyle put out an article about this, talking about how I think you read it, Gaetano, about how stars of the 2000s in R&B are kind of lost now. And I think that someone like himself, he's not going to rebound to where he was, and he needs to accept that. And just maybe sign with like an E1 or like a primary wave, just so he can get the proper vehicle for his next project and be content with selling, you know, I don't know, 20,000, 30,000, and accept that that's where he is now and move on, you know. What he's doing right now, I don't like, because he's just kind of doing everything on his own. And that's, the more he does that, I feel like the more it's going to hurt him. He's like kind of falling out of the picture.
Right.
And that's my opinion. So, Ed, what do you think?
I think there's perfect room in the game for him to come back. Because you're only one hit away. Any artist is one hit away. And it's not like we're a congestion of artists right now. So he can easily drop something hot, slide right back in where he left, and your boy Kyle will be hyped up, putting You Know I Got Soul all over behind his marketing program. So I think it's cool. So Mario isn't that far off. It's not like he's starting from scratch or from ground one, because the fan base is still there for him.
Speaking of Mario's generation, and this is the last thing, then we'll get into the final food topic, but Gaetano, there's an epic tour coming out that you're going to want to check out. Have you heard about this? 3 artists from your generation.
Who is that?
Bobby V, Jay Holiday, and Pleasure P are doing a tour together. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing, man?
Because
I actually don't think it's a bad idea, like, to combine like that.
I think it's a good idea.
I don't either. I don't think it's a bad idea. Shout out to Pleasure P. You Know I Got Soul's favorite singer. But I don't think that it's a bad idea, but it's going
to be a problem. I'll tell you what the first problem is going to be. Who's going to close and who's going to open? Egos are going to get
See, I had to pull myself back because I felt Tom saying, "Don't say it." But
what? That's
like,
come on.
Of those 3 artists, like, there is no standout. Every tour has like you opener, and then you have the main event, and I feel like they're all on the same level. There's no standout. Nobody that's the standout. So that's my biggest idea.
I'd argue that Bobby V would be the standout. He's had way more hits, and I think just his talent level just kind of is a little bit more superior. And I'm not being biased just because I've worked with Bobby V, but he's definitely got the edge on those 2 guys, I'll tell you that.
I think I would put Jay Holiday opening, even though I think he's, I'm not going to give my opinion, never mind, but I think Jay Holiday should open, and I think Pleasure P should go second, just because Pleasure has had some big hits, even though he's had 1 solo album. He's had some big singles, and even with Pretty Ricky. So that's how I'd order it. So
I agree. I think that's the order you should go with.
I'm curious to see if it works, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like, I saw an interesting interview online on YouTube with Questlove, and he said something so remarkable, like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. When he was coming up with the roots and all that, it was hard to get like labels on board and fans to really catch on, because they had to create a movement with other similar artists. So it wasn't until he went and reached out to all those Talib Kweli, Mos Def, conscious rappers and those kind of folks, to where, it started catching on as a movement. And then when you think about like this whole trap soul thing, it's kind of all erupting at once. The boy band eras, like, they all kind of happen at the same time. These are all movements in music. It's never just been one thing that kind of takes off on its own as a solo thing. So the fact that these 3 guys, Bobby V, Pleasure P, and Jay Holiday, are all doing this together, it certainly makes sense from a marketing standpoint, and from a musical standpoint too. They all kind of reach and speak to the same audiences, and them doing it together is gonna, certainly benefit all of them in the long run. So, makes sense.
Well, you know what this tells me, Tom? It tells me that Pleasure P actually read I Got Soul's editorial and is taking some advice to heart, because everything that G said, we suggested to Mr. P to help strengthen his career. So maybe, just maybe, he actually listened before them trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers. But I'm a chill.
And for those who don't know what Ed's talking about, we wrote an article where we mentioned what would be best for Pleasure at this point of his career, and he took offense to it and said it was a bunch of BS and it was like the worst thing he's ever read in his life. And now he's doing it. And now he's I'm sorry, we still support Pleasure P, and we always will, but it was just funny how it worked out. So, all right, guys, let's wrap it up. Want to get into our food discussion. Kyle's not here to lead this one, so what do we got? One of you guys throw out there. What's the best meal you've had lately? And I'll tell you my opinion on it.
How are you gonna tell your opinion on it? You didn't even eat it.
I'll tell you what I think based on what it looks like and smells like.
Oh my gosh. Let me think of the last great meal I had. My wife and I went to brunch this morning, which we very rarely ever do, and had this nice steak and egg combo from this Southern place. It's called Southern Kitchen, down home cooking place. So that was pretty decent.
You know what I had yesterday for the first time? I went into Dunkin' Donuts and I ordered a biscuit.
Ew.
I've never had that. No, I've heard they're okay. Like I haven't had it, but I heard they're okay. So
it was okay. But
yeah, I heard they're okay.
That was my lunch.
I'm sorry to do this to you guys, but I'm about to blow everything out of the water, because yesterday I had something that was so phenomenal, so incredible, so mind-blowing, that I can't wait to go back and have another one. And this is probably only available in certain parts of the country. I don't think you can get this in Alabama, Ed. But I had...
Ouch.
Yeah, ouch is right. But I had a sushi burrito, which is a sushi burrito. A burrito of sushi.
That sounds absolutely disgusting. A sushi burrito?
Now, it essentially is a massive sushi roll rolled up like a burrito, but it doesn't have any of the ingredients of what a traditional Mexican burrito has. It's basically a massive sushi roll just rolled up in, sushi seaweed roll up as a burrito, and it's incredible.
Now, I'm a sushi fan, but that just seems like overkill. Like I feel like I would gag halfway through eating that because it's just so much.
That's what you would think, but it's not the case. It's so good. It's mind-blowingly good. I suggest if you can ever come across one of those sushi burrito spots that you have one.
Well, next time I'm up there, you can take me to the sushi burrito spot, and I'll eat half of it, and you can have the other half. Cause that sounds like too much for you, boy. Tom, what did you eat? Some old bland boiled chicken stuff?
Wait, hold on. Speaking of sushi, since we're on grievances, we're still on grievances here. Speaking of sushi, I was at this Tyrese listening event back in 2011 for his, what album was that? His last album before Black Rose.
Yeah.
And do you know they only serve sushi to the press?
That's the weirdest thing. Why do they only serve sushi to the press?
I was pissed. I only eat seafood. I nibbled on some rice, and that was it.
Ouch. Hey, Ed, I gotta tell you something funny. You're gonna enjoy this as a ending statement here from me. And by the way, this guy's gonna be at Soul Village next month. One of my personal favorites, as Tom knows, Sammy. We went to his listening party when he was known as Lee Bush.
Yes.
So yeah, he had a project come out under Lee Bush. And Tom and I went to the listening event, and I was looking snazzy. I was by the alcohol. I was pouring myself a drink, and a very lovely, slenderly shaped woman had made her way over to me and said, "I'll have a vodka tonic, please." So she thought that I was the staff.
What is this? See, don't let me turn this into like one of my my racial columns where I'm going off on the state of America. Why would she think that you were the help?
She thought I was the staff, yeah.
Why would she think that?
I can't remember. Did you pour the drink? I couldn't remember.
No, I didn't. No, I poured one for myself, and I was like, well, yeah, I mean, there you go, bottles right there.
The staff wouldn't be pouring it for themselves, man. Don't turn me into my Malcolm X on this podcast, man. We're trying to wrap up, because I'm going to add another 30 minutes to this if I start going.
Well, I just thought it was a funny thing.
Ed, I've been confused for security, for police at events. You won't believe it. Like, what's this guy doing here?
That's funny. Speaking of security, did you guys see that Ray J had Ray J made some club appearances recently where he had guards with assault weapons guarding him in the club?
Why does Ray J need the G.I. Joe cast guarding him? This is Ray J. What you got going on?
Nothing.
All right, guys, let's stay on course. Let's wrap it up. So now that the food discussion is done, Ed, talk about what you've got going on.
We have, what do we got going on at Soul and Stereo? If you've missed it, make sure you stop by the site, soulandstereo.com, and see our review of Jaheim's new album. We talked about that a little bit earlier. We also have The Good Girls. Now, I don't know. Now, gee, this is probably too old for you, but in the New Jack Swing era, there was a trio of girls called the Good Girls, and they were kind of like the New Jack Swing girl group. So I did one of my Whatever Happened To columns, looking back on those three, and actually the members of the group shared it too, so that's been very popular. Check it out if you're a fan of the Good Girls. And we've got coming up, of course, a few more love letters questions, maybe a few more reviews. And a couple weeks ago, we also had a ranking of Bad Boys album discography from 1994 to 2001, kind of their hot period. So if you missed that, go check that out too, where we got Faith, Biggie, 112, Total, the whole crew. I go through and rank them from best to worst.
Wow, dope.
What about you, G? What do you got coming up?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot lately on the production, songwriting tip. I've been in collaborations with the Heatmakers production team based out of New York, and they have graciously invited me to work on them with production for Shaggy. So I've been working with Shaggy for the past few weeks, and it looks like I have potentially landed a placement credit on his upcoming album, so that's a good look.
Yes.
Yeah. They've also invited me to work on a project that they're working on for Fat Joe. So very, very early in the game right now to be making too many speculations, but it looks like I may have landed a production credit on a Fat Joe record, so we'll see what happens with that. And as far as my own material, I'm still, kind of experimenting with some new sounds and just testing things out in the studio. I'm trying to really decide, how am I going to keep my guitar influence and my guitar roots and still try to sound relevant as to what's going on right now. You're not going to hear any trap out of me, sorry. But, I'm still experimenting with a few things, so nothing really major in the works yet, but that's what I got going on for right now.
Congrats,
yeah,
G. I know you've been grinding
too.
Yeah, for sure, man. You sometimes build up credibility and a reputation as other things too. Like people know me as the artist that performed around New York a lot, and I got invited to Canada to go do a show with Willie Taylor from Day 26 and guys like that. But it's cool sometimes when you get recognized for your other talents, and sometimes all you need is a first chance or a first try, somebody to give you that first shot. And I've been working with the Heatmakers for past 2.5, 3 years now, and they've just been love ever since. So they're great to learn from, to collaborate with, and they introduced me to a lot of people, and doors have been opening. So I'm gonna just keep working hard.
So all All right, we'll wrap it up. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ed, and thanks, Gaetano, once again for joining and making this a great podcast. We'll be back again next week. I'm sure Kyle will be back. So, Tom, Ed, and Gaetano signing off. Later, guys. Later, guys. Later, guys. Later, guys.